Maya's feet tapped lightly against the pavement, matching the rhythm of the gentle music playing from her small portable speaker. The park was alive with the soft hum of a Saturday morning, dogs tugging at leashes, joggers pacing steadily, families spreading picnic blankets under the shade of towering oak trees. But Maya's world was different. Her world existed inside the rhythm. Each beat was a chance to breathe. Each step was a way to forget the weight she carried. She twisted gracefully, letting her hands float upward as the music swelled. For a brief moment, she wasn't the girl who spent nights by her mother's bedside. She wasn't the girl juggling 3 small jobs just to afford medicine. She wasn't the girl people often overlooked. Out here in the warm sunlight, she was simply Maya, a dancer, and people loved watching her. Children often stopped to mimic her moves. Couples smiled as they walked by. Elders clapped along softly. For a few hours each weekend, she brought something bright into strangers' lives. But today one child didn't just smile. She glowed. Emily Everett, small, fragile, 5 years old. Curly blonde hair tied loosely with a pink ribbon. Her wheelchair decorated with tiny stickers, stars, butterflies, and a faded unicorn at the edge. Her father was nowhere in sight when she rolled near Maya, pushed slowly by her nanny, who eventually sat on a bench nearby. Emily watched as though witnessing real magic. Maya noticed her immediately. The wide eyes, the awe, the shy excitement. "You like dancing?" Maya asked gently. Emily nodded so hard her ribbon bobbed. "Want to try something fun?" Emily hesitated, looking down at her motionless legs, but Maya already knew. She came closer, lowering herself so they were eye level. "You don't need to stand to dance," Maya said with a warm smile. "You just need to feel the music." She took Emily's little hands, placing them softly on her own. The music grew brighter. Maya began swaying Emily's arms gently to the beat, left, right, up, around. Emily giggled, bright and pure, as though someone had lit a spark inside her chest. People nearby stopped to watch. "Look how happy she is. She's so sweet with her. What a beautiful moment." But Maya didn't hear their whispers. She only saw Emily's smile stretching bigger, fuller, freer than anything she had ever seen. For a child who lived with limits, this moment felt limitless. "Spin," Emily whispered. "Let's do it," Maya said. She gripped the wheelchair's handles carefully and turned her slowly in a small circle. Emily threw her head back in laughter, sunlight catching the tears forming at the corners of her eyes. Not from pain, but joy. "You're flying," Maya told her. "I really am," Emily squealed. The nanny watched with soft eyes. For once, Emily wasn't quiet, withdrawn, or nervous. She was simply a little girl having the time of her life with someone who saw her, not her condition. Maya stopped spinning and kneeled again. "You're a natural dancer," she said. Emily beamed, cheeks flushed. "Dance again?" "Of course." Maya took her hands once more, letting them move with the slow rise of the melody. Emily gazed at her with the kind of trust children rarely gave strangers. Trust born from kindness, not obligation. "You're my friend," Emily whispered softly. Maya felt something in her chest crack open. She hadn't heard those words in a long time. "I'm your friend," Maya replied, and the world around them blurred. The park, the people, the noise. Everything melted away into a moment so delicate it felt like holding a butterfly in her palm. But beauty never lasts unchallenged. A deep voice, harsh and ice-cold, ripped through the air. "Get away from my daughter!" Maya's hands dropped instantly. Emily froze. The crowd turned, and the peaceful morning shattered like glass. Maya's heart began to thud painfully. She hadn't known the little girl was Emily Everett, daughter of John Everett, one of the wealthiest and most powerful men in Chicago. A man known for his influence and his temper. He approached like a storm brewing on the horizon, eyes fixed firmly on Maya. His footsteps were heavy, fueled by something deeper than anger. Something Maya couldn't yet understand, but she would, because this moment, this single sentence, would change everything, forever. John Everett's voice sliced through the peaceful park like a blade. "Get away from my daughter." Maya's breath stalled in her chest. She turned slowly, her pulse hammering against her ribs. Standing several feet away was a man whose presence seemed to bend the air around him. Tall, Sharply dressed in a charcoal suit despite the warm weather, jaw clenched so tightly the muscles twitched. John Everett. Everyone in Chicago knew him. Billionaire real estate mogul, ruthless businessman, cold, calculated, a man who built empires but could tear people apart with a single look. And right now, all that fury was pointed at her. Emily's soft voice trembled. "Daddy." She was just— "Quiet," he snapped, his eyes never leaving Maya. "I didn't ask for excuses." The crowd grew still, the atmosphere thick with discomfort. Parents whispered. Joggers slowed to a halt. Even the birds seemed to quiet. Maya swallowed hard. I didn't mean any harm," she said softly. "She came to me. I was just dancing with her." "Dancing," John repeated, dripping with sarcasm. "Yes, because I'm sure that's all this is. A dancer in the park, conveniently winning over the daughter of one of the wealthiest men in the city." His tone made her stomach twist. "You think I knew who she was?" Maya said, forcing her voice to stay steady. A humorless laugh escaped him. "Oh, please. People like you always know where to aim. It's predictable, pathetic." Emily's face crumpled. "Daddy, stop," she whispered. But he wasn't listening. His anger was fueled by something older, something festering, fear, pride, exhaustion, perhaps guilt. But Maya couldn't know that yet. John stepped closer, towering over her. "Stay away from my daughter," he hissed. "I won't warn you again." Maya stood her ground. Her heart pounded, but she refused to shrink. "I wasn't hurting her." His eyes flashed. "Don't tell me what you were doing. You don't belong anywhere near her." The words hit harder than she expected. "You don't belong." She felt heat gather behind her eyes, but she blinked it away. "I was only trying to help her smile." "Help?" he scoffed. "You think you're helping? By what? Dancing in parks for loose change." The insult landed like a slap. Emily flinched, her small hands gripping the armrests of her wheelchair. "Daddy, she's nice," Emily insisted, voice breaking. "She made me happy." John's jaw tightened. His gaze flicked to his daughter, softening just an inch, then turning back into ice when he faced Maya again. "You will not manipulate my child's emotions for attention," he said coldly. "I've seen too many people try to use her condition for sympathy." The accusation stung deeply. Maya had lived her life caring for others. She'd never once taken advantage of someone, especially not a child. "I didn't even know she couldn't walk," Maya replied, voice trembling. "I just saw a little girl who wanted to dance." "Oh yes," John growled. "And next? You ask for money? For help? For a favor?" Maya stared at him in disbelief. "I don't want anything from you," she whispered. "Good," he said sharply, "because you'll never get it." He stepped even closer, too close, his shadow falling over her thick with warning. The intimidation was obvious, intentional. Emily burst out, "Stop yelling at her." "She was being my friend." John inhaled sharply, clearly torn. "Emily," he said, forcing calm into his voice, "I am protecting you." "No," Emily cried. "You're scaring her." For a brief moment, John's facade cracked. His eyes darted between his daughter's frightened expression and Maya's hurt silence. But pride overpowered reason. "I won't say this again," he said, straightening. "Leave. Now." Maya bit the inside of her cheek to steady her voice. "I'm not a threat," she said quietly. "You don't even know me." "And I don't need to," he replied. "I can see exactly what you are." The words froze her blood, but she didn't let her voice shake. "No," she said softly. "You see what you want to see." Emily began to cry, soft, devastated sobs. "Daddy, please," she begged. "Don't be mean to her." But John, fueled by fear of losing control, grabbed the wheelchair handles abruptly. "We're leaving." Emily reached desperately for Maya's hand, fingertips brushing her palm as John pulled her away. "Please don't go," she whispered. Tears falling. Maya's heart fractured. She watched helplessly as the man pushed his daughter away without looking back. But fate had a strange way of circling back, because within minutes, John would need Maya more than he ever imagined, and the world he thought he controlled was about to turn upside down. John pushed the wheelchair forward with quick, angry steps, every muscle in his jaw still tight, every breath sharp. Emily's small hands clutched the armrests, her eyes wide and wet with confusion. She kept looking back at Maya, who stood frozen near the bench, trying to understand how something beautiful had turned into something so cruel. "Daddy, stop!" Emily pleaded, her voice trembling. "You're hurting my feelings." John didn't respond. His mind was a storm, irrational, exhausted, drowning in fears he refused to confront. He thought he was protecting his daughter. In reality, he was pushing away the only moment of joy she'd had in weeks. His phone buzzed in his pocket, again and again. Work, investors, constant pressure. He pulled it out with irritation, not slowing down even as he answered. "What?" He snapped into the phone. "No, I said those contracts need to be signed before noon." As he talked, his attention drifted completely. He didn't notice the slight downward slope in the path. Didn't notice his hand slipping from the wheelchair handle. Didn't notice Emily's frightened gasp as the chair began rolling faster. "Daddy?" she whispered. He didn't hear her. "Daddy!" she cried louder. But John's voice drowned hers out as he argued into the phone. The wheelchair hit a small crack in the pavement. The front wheel jumped. The chair swayed. Then, suddenly, it broke free entirely. Emily screamed. The world snapped into slow motion. The wheelchair rolled downhill, picking up speed, bouncing violently. Emily's little hands tried to grip the sides, but her fingers slipped. Her ribbon flew off. Her hair whipped across her face. "Daddy!" she screamed again. John turned at last, and his soul nearly left his body. "Emily—" His phone fell to the ground, screen cracking on impact. He sprinted after the chair, but he was too far, too slow, and the wheelchair was heading straight toward the street, toward an oncoming car, its engine roaring as it approached the intersection. "No, no, no, Emily!" John's voice broke with terror. People gasped. A jogger shouted for someone to help. A mother shielded her kid's eyes. The driver of the car slammed the brakes, tires screeching violently, but the distance was too short. The chair was still rolling too fast. Then a blur darted across the pavement. Maya. Pain shot through her ribs with every step, her earlier fall still burning through her side. But she didn't feel it. All she saw was a little girl who trusted her. A little girl who had laughed with her minutes ago. A little girl who deserved more than fear. Maya pushed harder, her breath tearing through her chest. The wind stung her eyes. The pavement blurred beneath her feet. "Hold on, Emily!" she yelled. Emily sobbed, "Maya! Maya, help!" The wheelchair was just feet from the curb. The car's horn blared. Maya lunged with everything she had left. Her hands slammed into the back of the wheelchair. The impact jolted her arms. The force shot through her spine, but the chair stopped. Inches, literal inches, from the street. The car skidded to a halt so close she could feel the heat of the engine against her skin. Maya's knees hit the pavement hard, scraping open instantly. Blood seeped through her torn jeans. Her palms burned. She could barely breathe. But Emily was safe. The world exploded into noise. Shouting, rushing footsteps, the driver yelling, the nanny screaming Emily's name. Maya swallowed hard, trying to steady her breath. Emily turned, her face streaked with tears, her body shaking. "Maya," she whimpered. Maya forced a smile through the pain. "You're okay. I've got you." Emily reached for her, clinging to her arm with trembling fingers. John finally reached them. His chest rose and fell in rapid, desperate breaths. His face was pale, terrified, a man watching his entire world nearly vanish before his eyes. He dropped to his knees beside Emily. "Emily, oh God, Emily." His voice shook uncontrollably. "Are you hurt? Are you okay? Talk to me, sweetheart." Emily sobbed. "She saved me, Daddy. She saved me." John turned to Maya and froze. Her knees were bleeding. Her palms scraped raw. Her ribs bruised. She looked exhausted, breathless, hurting, all because she risked everything to save a child who wasn't even hers. His throat tightened. His chest squeezed painfully. "Maya!" he whispered, guilt strangling the words. But he couldn't finish the sentence, not yet. His pride shattered. His anger evaporated. His assumptions collapsed. And for the first time that day, he really saw her. The girl he'd accused, the girl he'd insulted, the girl he'd shoved, the girl who just saved his daughter's life. Everything changed in that moment for all of them, forever. The world around them moved in a blur, people rushing over, voices overlapping, the car engine humming as the driver leaned out his window shouting, "Is she okay?" But Maya heard none of it. Her breathing was shallow, pain stabbing beneath her ribs each time her lungs tried to fill. Her scraped knees pulsed with heat. Her palms throbbed. Sweat clung to her hairline, and yet even with her body screaming, she kept one steady hand on the back of Emily's wheelchair. Emily clung to her sleeve with trembling fingers. "Don't let go," the little girl whispered. Still sobbing, Maya swallowed the burning in her throat. "Never," she promised gently. John Everett's hands shook as he reached for his daughter. He tried to lift Emily's chin to check her face, but his own fingers weren't steady enough. "I'm right here, sweetheart," he murmured, voice cracking. "Daddy's right here." Emily wasn't looking at him. Her eyes remained locked on Maya, the girl who had thrown herself onto hard pavement for her. John followed her gaze, his heart twisted painfully. Just minutes earlier, he had pushed this girl, insulted her, judged her without a second thought. Now she knelt bleeding on the ground because she had risked everything to save his child. His voice dropped to a whisper drenched with regret. "You saved her." A simple truth, yet it weighed more than anything he'd ever said. Maya nodded weakly. "She was rolling too fast. I just ran." "You could have been hit," John said, his voice trembling. "The car, it almost—" He swallowed hard, unable to finish. Maya finally looked up at him, and John felt something inside him collapse. Her eyes weren't angry. They weren't resentful. They weren't proud. They were tired, hurt, but gentle. "You should take her home," Maya whispered. The simple sentence pierced him deeper than any accusation. Not "I told you so," not "you see now." Just responsibility, care, grace. Emily reached for Maya again. "Come with us," she begged softly. "Please. I don't want you to leave." John felt his breath hitch. He knew Emily didn't open up to many people. Her world had been filled with doctors, nurses, tutors, but very few real friends. "Maya," John started, forcing himself to speak despite the guilt tightening around his throat. "Are you hurt? You're bleeding." "It's fine," she said with a weak shrug. "I'm used to little accidents." But her attempt at a smile wavered. When she tried to stand, pain shot through her side so sharply she gasped and nearly fell. John lunged forward instinctively, catching her elbow before she hit the ground. "Easy," he said hoarsely. "Please, don't move too fast." His hand was warm, steady, full of fear he wasn't hiding anymore. Maya pulled in a shaky breath. "I'm okay." But she clearly wasn't. John's jaw tightened with self-loathing. "I pushed her earlier. She could be hurt because of me." "Let me help," he said urgently. "Let me take you to a clinic or a hospital." "No hospital," Maya said quickly. "It costs too much." The words hit him like a punch. Too much. Something so small for him was impossible for her. Emily tugged John's sleeve. "Daddy, she saved me." "We have to help her." John looked at his daughter, her hair messy, cheeks wet, voice fragile, and then back at Maya. There was no hesitation left in him. "You're coming with us," he said firmly. Not as a command, not as intimidation, but as a promise. "I'm taking both of you home." Maya blinked in surprise. "Home? I can't go to your house." "Yes, you can," Emily insisted. "Please, I'm scared. I don't want to leave you." A few people nearby murmured sympathetically. One older woman whispered, "If that girl didn't jump in, that child would have been gone." The truth echoed heavily. John straightened. "We need to get out of here," he said softly to Maya. "Let me repay a fraction of what I owe you." "It's okay," Maya said quietly. "I didn't do it for payment." "I know," he replied. "That's exactly why I can't ignore this." He placed one careful hand on the wheelchair and extended the other to Maya, not out of obligation, but respect. For a long moment, Maya stared at his outstretched hand. Her ribs hurt. Her legs ached. The adrenaline had faded, leaving exhaustion behind. But Emily looked at her with such trust, such fear of losing her, that Maya finally nodded. "Okay," she whispered. John exhaled with relief so deep it shook his shoulders. He helped her stand slowly, supporting her weight without a single hint of the arrogance he had shown earlier. The three of them, a frightened child, a guilt-ridden father, and a bruised but brave stranger, began walking together toward the parking lot. A trio brought together by fear, by fate, by a moment that could have ended in tragedy. And for the first time, John Everett wasn't thinking about power, or reputation, or business. He was thinking about the girl who saved his daughter's life and the debt he could never repay. Maya's home and her mother. John drove slower than usual, every streetlight reflecting off the windshield, like a quiet reminder of the difference between his world and hers. The city transitioned from polished glass towers to uneven blocks lined with aging buildings and rusted fire escapes. Here the sidewalks were cracked. The streetlights flickered like tired eyes fighting sleep. Kids played in narrow alleys, their laughter echoing between worn brick walls. Maya kept glancing out the window at the familiar sights, the broken bus stop sign, the corner store with the faded open sign, the stray cat perched on the dumpster. Her neighborhood was loud, imperfect, and sometimes unforgiving. But it was home. When the SUV finally slowed to a stop in front of her building, Maya felt her stomach tighten. She wasn't ashamed of where she lived, but standing next to a billionaire's luxury car on her street felt like stepping into a spotlight she hadn't asked for. John stepped out first and opened her door. A small gesture, but one that surprised her. Nobody in her world did that. Not for her. He cleared his throat, unsure. "I'll come tomorrow morning," he said softly. "If you're willing to talk more about the job." "No pressure. Just a conversation." Maya nodded, adjusting her backpack. "I'll be ready." She took a few steps toward her building, but before she reached the door, he called out again. "Maya." She turned. His expression wasn't polished or powerful. It was human. "I'm grateful," he said, "for what you did today." Maya swallowed. "Just take care of Emily." "I will," he promised. Then she disappeared into the dim stairwell. Inside the narrow apartment hallway, her footsteps echoed softly. The smell of someone frying onions wafted from next door. A baby cried faintly in another unit. It was ordinary, familiar, safe. When she pushed open her apartment door, the living room glowed with the warm yellow light of a cheap lamp. Her mother, Vanessa, stood near the small couch wrapped in her old pilling cardigan. The minute she saw Maya's bandaged knees, bruised arms, and torn leggings, she froze. "Maya!" she cried, rushing forward. "Oh my God, baby, what happened? Who did this to you?" Her mother's hands flew over her face, her arms, her shoulders, as if checking she was all still there. Maya dropped her backpack and pulled her mother into a tight hug, burying her face in her shoulder. "I'm okay, Mama," she whispered. "Really, I'm okay." But Vanessa wasn't convinced. She held her daughter's cheeks between both palms, her voice trembling and fierce. "Tell me everything, right now." So Maya did. She sat on the couch with her legs tucked under her, while her mother slowly lowered herself into the armchair opposite her. The cushions sagged, but it was the most comfortable place in the world. Maya spoke about dancing in the park, about Emily's smile, about the whispers from strangers, about John's rage, about being shoved. Her mother's eyes darkened at that part. Then she described the wheelchair rolling, the scream, the car that nearly didn't stop, and her sprint to save Emily. Vanessa covered her mouth, tears pooling. "You could have been killed." "But I wasn't," Maya said softly. "And Emily." She was so scared. She needed someone. When Maya told her about the offer, the job, the contract, the chance to help Emily, and maybe even help pay for her mother's treatments, Vanessa sank back in her chair, stunned, silent. For a long moment, the room held only the hum of the fridge and Maya's quiet breathing. Finally, Vanessa whispered, "Do you trust him?" The question hung heavy. Maya looked down at her bruised hands. "No," she admitted honestly. "Not yet." Vanessa's jaw tightened. "He pushed you. He said ugly things to you. Men like him, they don't understand girls like us." "I know," Maya took a breath. "But Emily, she's different. She looks at me like I'm someone good. And when I dance, she lights up like the world makes sense again." Vanessa's expression softened. "You want to help her?" "I do," Maya nodded. "And I think maybe I can." Vanessa stood slowly, wincing at the pain that always followed her movements. She walked over, knelt in front of her daughter, and gently cupped Maya's face in both hands. Her voice was low, steady, full of the kind of strength only a mother carries. "Then show him," she said, "that he was wrong about you." Maya's eyes stung. She wrapped her arms around her mother again, breathing in the scent of laundry soap and peppermint tea. For the first time that day, Maya felt something settle deep in her chest. Not fear, not anger, not confusion. Hope. Every morning at exactly 10 a.m., the same sleek black sedan appeared outside Maya's building, its polished surface almost too shiny for the weathered street it parked on. The neighbors stared every day, pretending not to be curious, but whispering the moment the door closed. To Maya, the sound of that engine had become something strange and new. Possibility. She stepped out carrying her small notebook, the same one she used for dance steps, sketches, reminders, and dreams she never expected to matter to someone wealthy. But today it mattered to Emily. The mansion staff welcomed her politely, but not warmly. Some watched with narrowed eyes, unsure why the billionaire's daughter was suddenly spending her days with a girl from the other side of the city. But Maya didn't care. She was here for Emily, and Emily was changing, not gradually, rapidly. The first day, the little girl barely spoke above a whisper. The second day, she raised her head. The third day, she smiled with teeth. By the end of the week, Maya had pulled out something from Emily that no doctor, no tutor, no child psychologist had managed to reach for months, maybe years. It started small, a joke during breakfast, a spontaneous spin across the rug, a silly face behind John's back that made Maya snort. Then bigger things. Emily's voice stopped trembling. Her confidence returned, like a slow sunrise. She leaned forward eagerly during board games, determined to win. She asked questions, shared her opinions, corrected Maya's storytelling. They built pillow forts so large the maids couldn't vacuum the room. They painted portraits that looked nothing like real humans, but made Emily laugh. Fun till she fell sideways. They sang old songs Maya learned from her mother, songs Emily picked up almost instantly. Then there were the dances. Maya created tiny routines, nothing fancy, just rhythmic fun, and Emily followed them like a spark, learning how to become a flame. She moved awkwardly at first, then fluidly, then joyfully. Slowly, beautifully, Emily came alive again. And without fully meaning to, Maya became more than a helper. She became the spark the house had been missing. John noticed everything. Sometimes he pretended he was passing by the doorway, holding files he never opened or drinking coffee that had long gone cold. Other times he simply stood there, silent, leaning against the wall where the light from the window framed him. He watched Maya spin Emily in slow circles, watched Emily laugh freely, something she hadn't done since her mother left, watched Maya's presence becoming the glue holding the girl together. Every smile from Emily was a reminder of what he almost lost. Every giggle was a wound healing. Every dance was proof that joy could return even here in this giant, silent house. But every healing story has shadows. And outside the mansion's tall iron gates, whispers began. People noticed the car picking up Maya from her modest neighborhood daily. Some neighbors raised brows. Others judged more loudly. Why is she going there every day? Rich people don't help without a reason. Are they using that girl? Or is she trying to get something from them? Even at the grocery store, women who'd known Maya for years exchanged glances when she walked. So I bet the mansion wasn't free from rumors either. Wealthy? Friends, those who pretended to care, sipped wine in grand living rooms and asked cold questions. Who is that girl always with Emily? She doesn't look like their kind. Is John losing his mind hiring children to fix his daughter? Or is this some charity stunt of his? They laughed, criticized, speculated. Some even suggested Maya wasn't safe to be around Emily. John heard snippets here and there, at dinners, on phone calls, through smug smiles of men who thought their opinions mattered more than facts. And each time, something hardened in him. But Maya didn't know any of this. She only knew that Emily needed her. Each day she walked through the mansion doors, she put her entire heart into helping one little girl rediscover the world. She didn't know she was stepping into a storm. She didn't know she was becoming someone powerful people whispered about. She didn't know this bond, this friendship, was about to change all their lives forever. All Maya knew was that Emily smiled when she arrived, and that was enough. The gala shimmered with crystal chandeliers, champagne fountains, and orchestra music that seemed too perfect for reality. It was the kind of event where every smile was rehearsed, every handshake calculated, and every whispered comment carried more weight than gold. John arrived dressed sharply, but his eyes were distant, his mind still replaying Emily's laughter from that afternoon. For the first time in months he felt hope again, but tonight the room felt colder. People stared a little too long, murmured a little too quietly, and smiled a little too knowingly. It didn't take long for one of the board members, Mr. Whitmore, to approach him, a man with a slicked-back look and a smirk that never reached his eyes. "So," Whitmore began, "you've taken in that girl from the park?" He swirled his wine glass carelessly. "The incident girl." John froze for a second. His shoulders stiffened, and the warmth he tried to carry into the evening evaporated instantly. "Her name," he said, voice low, "is Maya." Whitmore raised an eyebrow, amused by John's seriousness. "Well, of course," he replied lightly. "I just meant these things have consequences. People talk, you know." John's jaw ticked. "People always talk." Whitmore leaned closer, lowering his voice to a whisper dripping with entitlement. "Careful, John. Your daughter bonding with someone from the wrong side of the city? Headlines form fast, and with your position, a single rumor can look like wildfire." John stared at him, heart pounding once hard. "I didn't do this for headlines," he said firmly. Whitmore laughed, patting his shoulder like he was patting a child. "Of course you didn't, but the world doesn't care about intentions. I hope you're prepared for what they'll say anyway." John didn't reply. He walked away without another word, ignoring the curious glances that followed him. He didn't wait for dessert, didn't stay for speeches, didn't pretend to enjoy the evening like everyone else. He left early. He went home to his sleeping daughter and a house that suddenly felt heavier, quieter, smaller. The thought of Maya, her kindness, her patience, her bravery, echoed in his mind with every step he took down the empty hallway. The next morning, the mansion carried a different air. The staff moved silently, carefully, as if afraid to trigger something unstable. Even the sunlight entering through the tall windows looked dimmer. Emily was the first to sense the shift. When Maya arrived and walked into the playroom, Emily was already seated on the floor, hugging her knees. Her eyes flicked up nervously. "Daddy was upset last night," she whispered, barely audible. Maya knelt beside her. "Why?" Emily bit her lip, a habit she had worked hard to stop. "Someone said mean things about you." Maya's stomach tightened, not fear, not anger, just a hollow ache. She forced a soft smile. "It's okay. People say things they don't understand." But inside, she wondered what exactly had been said, and whether it would change anything. Later that afternoon, as the sun cast long golden rays across the halls, Maya received a message from one of the staff members. "Mr. Carter would like to speak with you in his study." She wiped her hands nervously on her jeans, took a steady breath, and walked toward the large wooden door she'd never entered before. The study was intimidating. Walls of books, heavy furniture, the smell of old paper and cedar. John stood by the window, his back to her, hands tucked into his pockets. "Sir?" she said softly. He turned, eyes weary but warm, and gestured for her to come in. "You're worried," he said before she could speak. Maya swallowed. "Not for myself. For Emily." John studied her, really studied her. "You think I'm worried you'll embarrass me?" She didn't answer. She didn't need to. John shook his head slowly. "No, Maya." He took a deep breath. "I'm worried my world will hurt you." Those words landed heavy in the room. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "This world," he said, glancing at the expensive decor around them, "it looks glamorous, but it can be cruel, judging, ruthless. And you walked into all of this with nothing but kindness." Maya blinked rapidly, not wanting tears to gather. He exhaled deeply, voice cracking just slightly. "What people don't understand is, you changed my daughter's life." Silence, not cold, not empty, but full of truth, of gratitude, of something unspoken between them. Maya stood tall, steady. "Brave that I'm not leaving her," she said. John nodded once. "I know." The air inside John's study felt different that afternoon. Less tense, less uncertain, almost as if the room itself knew a turning point was coming. Maya stood quietly, hands clasped together, watching John as he reached into a drawer and pulled out a slim, cream-colored folder. He placed it on the desk between them with deliberate gentleness, as if it was something fragile. "Maya," he began, his voice steady but warm, "I need you to look at this." He slid the folder toward her. Her eyes dropped to the neatly typed pages. A contract, simple, clear, with her name printed at the top in bold letters. "I want to hire you officially," John said. Maya blinked, stunned for a moment. "Hire me," she repeated. "Yes." He folded his hands, leaning forward slightly. 5 days a week. Creative activities only. You won't do chores, you won't run errands, and you won't be treated like staff. You'll be Emily's mentor, her guide, her... He hesitated, searching for the right word. Her spark. That word hit her like a breath of warm air. Maya looked back at the contract. The pay was impossibly generous. More than she'd ever imagined earning. More than her mother made in months. More than their rent for half a year. Her hands trembled slightly as she touched the paper. "Sir," she swallowed, "you're offering this much. For me just being me." John's expression softened in a way Maya had never seen before. A way that was neither formal nor guarded. "Being you," he said firmly, "is something no one else can do." For a moment neither of them spoke. The weight of his words wrapped around her, warm and overwhelming. She thought of Emily, of her laughter, her hugs, her tiny hand holding hers as she danced, her timid voice slowly turning into confidence. Maya wasn't a therapist. She wasn't a trained specialist. She wasn't someone with a degree or a polished resume. She was just Maya. But maybe that was exactly what Emily needed. She looked up. "What about my mom?" she asked cautiously. John smiled gently, already expecting the question. "I know Vanessa has been struggling," he said. "I've arranged for a medical specialist to evaluate her and help create a care plan. The cost is covered. You don't owe me anything for that. It's simply support for the family of the person who saved my daughter." Maya's eyes widened. Her heart fluttered painfully. Saved. No one had used that word before. She breathed out, slow and shaky, then reached for the pen beside the folder. Her signature came out slightly slanted from emotion, but it was hers, bold, permanent. The moment the pen left the paper, something shifted inside her, something deep, glowing, impossible to ignore. A door opened, a path she never thought possible now stretched before her. That evening, the world felt lighter. The usual bus ride home didn't feel long or cramped. The roads no longer looked dull. The sky, though fading into dusk, seemed brighter than usual. She held the folder tight to her chest the entire way back. When she stepped into the apartment, Vanessa was folding laundry on the small couch. She looked up instantly, eyes searching Maya's face like a radar for bad news. Maya closed the door quietly. "Mama," she said softly. Vanessa stood. "Baby." "What happened?" Maya lifted the folder, her eyes glistening. "I got the job." For a split second, Vanessa didn't react, almost as if her brain refused to believe something good could finally happen. Then her eyes filled, and she pulled Maya into a hug so tight, Maya felt her mother's heartbeat shaking. "Oh, thank God," Vanessa whispered against her hair. "Thank God." "You deserve this. You deserve the world." Maya hugged her back, burying her face in her mother's shoulder. Vanessa cupped her face gently, studying her with a trembling smile. "Don't let anyone dim your light," she said. "Not them, not fear. Not the past. Not even yourself." Maya nodded, the words sinking deep into her chest. Later, as she lay in bed, the room dim, the city humming softly outside, she stared at the ceiling, fighting a smile she couldn't contain. Her bruises from that terrible day still ached faintly. Her ribs, her shoulder, her knees, they reminded her of pain, yes, but now they also reminded her of strength. Because despite everything, she got back up. Despite being shoved, judged, whispered about, she stood tall. And now, for the first time in a very long time, she felt something new taking root inside her. Not fear, possibility, a new beginning. Not an ending. The beginning of a story that neither she nor John nor Emily had seen coming. And the night, soft and gentle, held that promise like a secret waiting to unfold.